Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong.
Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem. Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
So at least 56 people were shot in Chicago over Labor Day weekend, with 8 victims dying.
Grace and peace, everybody. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title. You know what we're going to talk about. We are going to be talking about the phenomenally well-received, overperforming, sub 10% approval rating mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. This rhetoric right here is problematic. Listening to him, and you probably have seen it, but listening to him rant as if he wants the citizens of Chicago to go to war with the National Guard if Trump sends in the National Guard, as if that's going to be a smart decision. And what is it? What are they doing this for? Because Trump wants to see Chicago cleaned up, wants to see the crime reduced. The people of Chicago want the crime reduced. They want to see it cleaned up. And so the mayor wants the people to go to war with. And I've said this before, I'm not 100% certain I agree with the methodology that the president is using. I do think there could be maybe some other ways, but I do think the bringing in of support to help mayors is the right thing to do. I do agree with that. If it's done the right way or done a different way, maybe we could have that discussion. But I think it's unequivocal that many of these mayors have lost control of their cities. Many of these leaders, and I say leaders loosely, have lost control of their cities, and their people are suffering because of it. So again, I'm a little bit conflicted with how Trump is doing it and the ways in which he's going about it. I am not conflicted that Chicago needs help. That's what I'm not conflicted on. And let's listen to the mayor talk about this. Let's go.
Are you prepared to defend this land?
What does that mean?
The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution, it's going to be the labor movement that stitches it back together. The labor movement that brings black folks, white folks, Asians. It brings brown folks together. This is the city that said keep hope alive. The city that birthed yes we can. And the city that will defend this country.
We want to begin tonight with the executive order signed by Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. Now, this afternoon, he detailed a plan as President Trump threatens to send federal forces to Chicago. Our Randy Gyllenhaal has more on the plan set forth by the mayor.
Well, tonight on social media, President Trump posting a warning to Illinois as leaders here in Chicago are preparing for the unprecedented.
We do not want to see tanks in our streets. We do not want to see families ripped apart.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson vowing pushback against White House plans to send ICE agents or even National Guard troops into Chicago. Taking a page from Trump and signing this executive order, largely symbolic, requiring federal agents wear body cameras and uniforms and show their faces, declaring Chicago police will remain locally controlled.
We may see militarized immigration enforcement. We may also see National Guard troops. This president continues to go well beyond the bounds of the Constitution.
Trump citing crime in Chicago, pointing to 6 homicides last weekend, even as killings are down about 30% this year. Writing on Truth Social, the weak and pathetic governor of Illinois just said he doesn't need help in preventing crime. He is crazy. He better straighten it out fast or we're coming.
They're just looking to invade the city of Chicago. This is a part of his plan to do something really nefarious, which is to interfere with elections in 2026. He wants to have troops on the ground.
The operation could be based out of North Chicago. Naval Station Great Lakes is set to host federal ICE and Homeland Security agents. It's unclear if the National Guard will join, and using the Guard for domestic crime could be unconstitutional.
He cannot use the National Guard to enforce immigration law. because in order to federalize the National Guard, there has to be an insurrection, or we must be under some kind of invasion or rebellion in order to justify that.
Well, Chicago officials say there is no emergency here. If the immigration raids were to start next week, they could coincide with the Mexican Independence Day celebrations here in the city.
And the city of Chicago to send a very clear message. We do not want or need military occupation in our city. We do not want or need militarized immigration enforcement in our city. We have been clear on that, and we will continue to take every single measure that we can to protect our people from these threats. However, I also want to be clear about this.
Be clear.
There are measures that the federal government can take right now to help continue to drive down violence and crime in our city. We need the federal government to stop the endless flow of guns into our state and into our city. Chicago police officers have taken more than 24,000 guns, illegal guns, off the streets of Chicago since I've taken office. Over 24,000 illegal guns.
So what does an illegal gun constitute? Because if it were owned, if it was in the hands of somebody, if it was bought legally, but it was in the hands for some reason or other, somebody broke into somebody's house and stole it, in the hands of somebody that was a criminal, is that gun illegal, or is the person that owns it? I need to know a little bit more about illegal guns. Are they made in the black market so they didn't go through the proper steps? And like, how does a gun become illegal? I just want to know.
Taken off the streets of Chicago since I've been in office. They have worked hard every single day to make our city safer, and they've made historic progress. However, we will never be able to end gun violence in Chicago as long as the president continues to allow tens of thousands of guns to be trafficked into our state and our city. The vast majority of guns do not come from Chicago. They are not made in Cook County. They are not bought in the state of Illinois. These guns come from red states.
Hold on. Flag on the play. How you gonna blame us for your gun problem? Hold on.
Flag on each and every one of y'all.
How you gonna blame us for your gun problem? Hold on now. You could just say people are bringing the guns in, but you're saying they're flooding in from red states? Boy, go sit yourself down somewhere.
They are coming from Indiana. They are coming from Mississippi. They are coming from Louisiana. And that is the harsh reality, whether Republicans like it or not. Occupying our city will do nothing to solve this problem. No matter how much work we do or how hard we work, whether it's expanding our Detectives Bureau, investing in community violence intervention, and addressing the root causes of crime, none of it will ever be enough until the president decides to end the mass trafficking of guns in our city. For every gun that the Chicago Police Department fights to get off the streets, 2 or 3 more new guns come into our city. Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem.
I feel like I'm missing something. I need to go back. How does that even work? Like, hold on. I got to look at this again. Maybe I'm missing this. This doesn't make sense. Like, how's he blaming red states for this problem? That makes no sense.
Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
Where do you get that
The president
from?
has promised the administration will act quickly if Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker does not, quote, straighten things out in Chicago. We will see what he does next then after NBC Chicago reports 54 people were shot and 7 people were killed in the Windy City over Labor Day weekend. Still, Pritzker maintains there is no need for the National Guard because he says there is no emergency in Chicago. He's suggesting the president isn't even focused on crime but on something else entirely.
The other aims are that he'd like to stop the elections in 2026 or, frankly, take control of those elections. The playbook is the same. It's thwart the media. It's create mayhem that requires military interdiction. These are things that happen throughout history, and Donald Trump is just following that playbook.
Pritzker.
So that playbook wasn't in play during the Summer of Love. That playbook wasn't in play during the pandemic and the BLM riots. Okay.
Adds troops cannot legally work to enforce the law in Chicago, so Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson has an executive order limiting how much the city's police department can work with troops and federal immigration agents. The order states that Chicago police can continue to enforce state and local laws, but it will not work with the National Guard or federal agents on patrols, arrests, and immigration enforcement. Here's Johnson taking to the streets on Monday.
We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago. No troops in Chicago.
Hold on. Is that Jamal Do Nothing Bryant? Y'all, come on. Come on, man. Hold on. Man, you got to be kidding me. What is Jamal Bryant doing up in there? Y'all, well, I'm glad he's not here in Atlanta causing trouble. But who done let this fool up in here?
That's weird.
Let's go.
No troops in Chicago.
So at least 56 people were shot in Chicago over Labor Day weekend, with 8 victims dying. The president calling out Democrat lawmakers trying to, quote, justify violent crime instead of working with the administration to eliminate it. Meanwhile, Chicago's mayor and Illinois governor continue to stand against any plans of sending in the National Guard. Wow.
We hope that they don't send any troops along with ICE. And if they do, they'll be in court pretty quickly because that is illegal.
Let's bring in Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. So,
what if Pritzker put criminals in jail or sent criminals to court as quickly as he sends ICE and federal agents? Just wonder.
Greg, the Democrats are making this a process issue, but they're not really focusing on the victims. So in yesterday's show, we got the shooting numbers and it went up. And also the deaths went up by 1 as well. And then if you look over last Labor Day weekend, it almost doubled. So there's clearly an epidemic going on in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mayor and the governor are siding with lawlessness and disorder simply because the president's in favor of law and order. And by law, the president does have the power to federalize the National Guard, send them into cities like Chicago to suppress civil disorder, enforce federal laws, even if Governor Pritzker resists. Johnson is irrelevant in such matters. And the president can also deploy other armed forces because the Constitution gives the commander-in-chief inherent powers, Article 2, to ensure that all laws are faithfully executed. Beyond that, though, the Insurrection Act, passed by Congress, specifically allows the president to use the military to address law enforcement emergencies, halt domestic violence, particularly where governors and mayors refuse to do it. Trump did it in Los Angeles. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, a liberal-leaning court, upheld his decision as completely lawful. And, of course, it quelled the violence. So, that doesn't mean Pritzker isn't going to sprint to the nearest court to get an injunction. He'll do it. But the law is squarely on the president's side on this, Lawrence.
Leave our criminals alone is what he means. That's sad, man. Y'all deserve better, Chicago. Imagine dislike someone so much that you're willing to let others die and suffer for your hatred. I mean, where's the lie? Chicago was safer in the 30s with Al Capone. Wow. Make the mayor go to every funeral of murdered people in Chicago. That would be wild. Now I like that one, actually. That would be serious right there. The mayor has to go, or the governor has to go to every one of those funerals. The bad thing is there would be so many, he wouldn't be able to go. I can see it already. But y'all, thank you so much for rocking with me. Let me know what you think about it. What would be a better way you think to go about this if you don't agree with the way that it's being done now? With the federalization of the National Guard, moving them in like that with ICE, do you feel like there's another way? And then what would be that better way? Let me know down in the comments below. I really appreciate y'all. And until next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Whitt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.